my sleeves. Let's have a chat, shall we? Hello everybody, welcome to this week's video. I wanted to just kind of sit and more or less rant at you, yap at you for a little bit, because I have had a lot of feelings about a lot of things, mainly having to do with my disability and stuff. Nothing bad has happened, just clarify things right off the bat. There's just been some stuff on my heart and I want to talk about it. So I made a short a couple of weeks ago talking about grief when it comes to disability. So that's kind of the big thing that I want to talk about in this video, more in depth than you can in 60 seconds. Grief is weird. So I have been dealing with this for over 10 years. There's been a lot of changes that have happened in that 10 years, but weirdly enough, a majority of them have been happening in the last 4. And I do think that has to do with the fact that these last 4, now 5 years, have been the years that I've actually been able to focus on my disability and work on diagnoses and things like that. Yeah, things have just changed a lot. For the better, mostly. But I do think about who I was when all of this started. I just got my cancer diagnosis. I was getting a major surgery at 12. Things were so scary, and I was treated horribly by my school and teachers and people in it, students. And it's taken me a while to actually admit that out loud, because for a very long time I told myself, like, oh, well, they don't understand, they're kids, they're this. It just got to a point where it was very obvious that they could have made a different decision with the way they treated me, and they chose not to. Another thing that's kind of been happening with me is I've been getting some memories back. If you don't know, or you haven't been here, I have some memory issues. I don't remember a lot of 7th grade to senior year, really junior year. I actually remember quite a bit of senior year at this point. As I've healed and as I've grown, I remember things, and I don't always share those memories because they're very fragmented and they're not always entirely accurate, or at least I don't think they are. So I kind of piece parts of my life together, and if I remember something fully, I'd share it. But yeah, that's why anytime I talk about the past, I do put the warning that, or the disclaimer that I don't always remember things in their entirety. So times might be wrong, dates might be wrong, those kind of specifics, because I don't remember them. But the feeling and the things that happened and how it made me feel, those happened. Okay, so I don't do the best job of explaining this in this video. Basically, my memories are like pieces of a story, essentially. I can remember one conversation I had, and then the conversation I had with them the next day, and then the conversation I had with them the day after that, and I kind of try and string together the timeline of events in my head to what I think makes the most sense based off of who's in it, what I do know about them, and things like that. So that's why time isn't always correct when I remember these things. But a lot of the times, these memories bring up how I was treated, how people spoke to me, how I viewed myself, my self-worth, things like that. So even though I don't actually remember the exact scenarios all of these took place in, I know how it affected me, especially when I compare it to myself now. So, as an example, I guess, I have memories of the way a group of friends treated me in high school, and earlier I thought, before I had these memories, that
They were okay. They had their moments, but everything was seemingly okay. But as I've remembered more things, I realized that a lot of the reason that I talk to myself the way that I do negatively, the way that I view myself negatively, came from a lot of the ways they spoke to me. And so those conversations that I remember every once in a while kind of like hits me. And so I try and take them in stride. I try and remember what I can and just realize that this happened, and knowing where it came from is good, but remembering that that's not entirely true and that I have the ability to not listen to them anymore and just recognize that the voice in my head saying these things actually sounds like them majority of the time. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
And that's something I've kind of just been dealing with. And I've gotten a lot of memories recently of people I considered friends back then, and just realizing how they treated me and that it wasn't good. Because I kind of had two groups of friends. I had the group of friends that I wasn't super close with, but I kept in my life because they were the people that treated me the best, whether I realized it or not at the time. And then I had the group of friends that I had had forever, like 10 plus years, that I almost felt bad for leaving, despite the fact that it was not good for me. And I was not treated like a person by these people. I really wanted to sit and talk about it because I say this a lot, but a lot of why I started this channel was so that if somebody like me when I was that age, I could have used me when I was going through this in the beginning. I could have used somebody talking about this and being honest about it, and just somebody I felt like was in my corner, or somebody that was in my corner that fully knew what I was going through. I had people in my corner, but none of them were as sick as I was. None of them were really going through what I was going through. Although they supported me and cared about me and wanted to hear what was going on, there was always a disconnect. And I really wanted to go from understanding that I'm not the only person going through this, because of course I'm not, to actually seeing somebody in the flesh saying, hey, this is something I'm going through, and being able to point at them and be like, I go through that too. Although that's showing some positive sides of everything, there's also a bunch of negatives that need to be talked about. And that was the reason I really wanted to make sure I made this video, especially feeling all these things right now. Just know that if you are starting to feel pain that shouldn't be there, be sick when everybody else gets over a sickness in like 24 hours, you take a week to get over it. If you get sick every morning, if you are just struggling in any way, no, that was my life for 6 plus years. And although parts of that aren't my reality anymore, a lot of it still is. And let me be the human person in the flesh saying, you are not crazy. You are going through this, and you are not alone. Because I am here. I see it. I feel it every day. You are not the only person. And let me be the physical reminder of that. Whenever I pop up on your feed or a video you watch, let me be that reminder for you. Because understanding people are going through the pain that you're feeling and knowing somebody is going through the pain that you're feeling are two very different things. And sometimes you just need that reminder. It's
She's not good. Don't want to be itchy.
I think one of the reasons I've been feeling feelings is I graduated college, which is amazing. I never thought I was going to graduate high school, let alone get a bachelor's degree. So that's a major accomplishment. But I don't know, now that I'm not going to school anymore and my life is my choice to make, there's a lot of choices. I almost have this like survivor's guilt about it, weirdly enough. And I think I've had this since I got my cancer diagnosis, of this feeling of why me? If you don't know my story, my pediatrician was horrific in so many ways. One of them was that she did not want me to get a biopsy on, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I have some scars. See if I can get a little closer. Here on the side of my face. That's where my cancer was when I was 11, 12. I think I was 11 when it started happening. I started getting itchy and just really uncomfortable, which is one of the first signs that it's becoming cancerous. It's a birthmark, by the way, or it was a birthmark. And my dermatologist wanted to get a biopsy done, but my pediatrician was really pushing against it. And so we had this like back and forth for a little bit. And had we listened to her and waited till I was 16, which was the original plan, instead of 12, I probably would have had to go through chemo. And if you know anything about skin cancer, it's one of the hardest cancers to get rid of. So who knows what my life would have been like, how long it would have been. But that's not what happened. I got the biopsy, we found them precancerous. I was able to have a surgery to get rid of it, and I'm here. I might be sick. I might be in pain. I might struggle and flare up and get dizzy just from standing up. But I'm here. I think for a very long time in my life, I never understood why. And I think I'm getting to the point where whatever that reason is, it's my decision. The reason I'm here is my decision to make. What that surgery gave me was the ability to make that decision, the ability to decide where I want to take my life and what I want to do with it. And although that means I have to make a decision, which I don't want to do, because making decisions is hard, the fact that I can make one at all is a gift. It's funny. I I used to get asked this all the time, and I still do, is how are you so positive? You talk about the most horrendous things that you go through, and yet you somehow find the positive in it. Why? Why? How? And my one and only true, honest answer is spite. I've I really have been through a lot in this last 10 years, and the fact that a lot of people have tried to push me away from what I want, and my illnesses have physically pushed me away from what I want in my life. Just be able to go like, fuck you to those people and do it happy and do it honestly and do it the way that I want. It's spite, truly, at its finest. I want, that's what I want. Going back to the memory thing for a second, probably longer than a second, I had this realization the other day of, well, I guess it's not a realization. I remembered something or a conversation that I had. It was kind of a combination of things. It was the way one of my friends used to speak to me. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but I had a friend in high school that put people in boxes. And when you try to step out of that box because you aren't that person in that box, despite what they say, you were talked down to for it. And that is something I experienced a lot, to the point where I kind of had to suppress a lot of my personality. I thought I hit the off button. So I had to suppress a lot of who I was, my personality, and things like that, to the point where I kind of forgot about those parts of me. And the reason I remembered this is because I remembered the camp I used to go to when I was a kid. It was a week-long sleepaway camp. For the longest time, I never understood why I always went back. I was miserable, I was sick because I went from being around just my family for the summer to being around like 30 strangers all sleeping in a cabin together. And I was always very sick. I never really enjoyed, like, it wasn't the most fun to be there for me. And I remember I would get to the end of the camp. It's like, I don't know if I can come back next year. I'm so sick. And yet, every year, I got excited to go back. And I did go back. And I never understood a lot of the reasons why. And there's a few reasons, but one of them is I got to actually be myself. That person is somebody who isn't afraid to say something a little snarky, who isn't afraid to belt out show tunes all week. Seeing how I spent a whole week of one of these summers singing Shrek the Musical with one of my friends, and it was glorious. We would pull pranks, and we would be like little menaces, basically, and I loved it because that's who I am. I love being a little weirdo. It's part of who I was. But then I would have to go back to school where I just had to be nice Izzy, who doesn't rock the boat, who doesn't do anything out of line, to go from these two extremes. I never put it together until now, but that is a part of who I am. And that's who I want to be again. I want to be somebody who can be that. What the fuck? Oh, I used to not be able to swear either around her. Anytime I would, she had this like, you shouldn't be doing that kind of attitude because it wasn't who I was to her. I was the person who never swore. But I do. I'm from New England. I swear, bitch. Shocker. That's been a lot of these last 5 years too, is gaining some of my personality back. Weirdly enough, I got it from crochet. Don't ask me how those are connected. I still haven't figured that out quite yet. Maybe we'll explore that later. Having hobbies again, like reading and crocheting and taking time for things that are mine. I think maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is feeling like I'm prioritizing myself and feeling like I'm taking care of myself. I used to be told that that was selfish and that I shouldn't be doing that. Or when I would do things like take care of myself, like bow out of going to hang out with my friends last minute because I was sick. Because my sick comes on very fast. And I can wake up in the morning and be perfectly fine, and an hour later, I can't get out of bed.
That's always fun.
Another thing they used to do, once I got this was kind of like the tipping point for me of being like, these people really don't care about you, was once I got my celiac diagnosis, or at least I stopped eating gluten, it was the excuse to not invite me to things. Like, they would go out to eat because we all had cars at this point, and a lot of us had our own money. So we could go to like a little restaurant. We could go get coffees. We could go do things. So they would like go to a restaurant to get like whatever deal was going on. I think Applebee's had a deal. Again, I didn't participate. I don't know. They would go to get food and then they would go and do something afterward. And I always suggested, well, you guys can go eat because I can't eat there, wherever they went, but I could join you afterward. And for some reason, I was not allowed to do that. Other people were. I wasn't. Again, took me a little bit to figure out why, but it was very obviously that they went to eat. It was the excuse to not invite me because they didn't actually want me in their lives. And, I very quickly just decided, you don't want me in your life, I don't want you in mine. Goodbye. That's why I haven't talked to them since graduation. How long has this been? I have no idea. Hold on. Okay. We're at like the 24-minute mark. I'm filming on my back camera because I wanted to make sure that I just talked and I wasn't like focused on the time. Just wanted to spiel out what I wanted to say. And I think that's it. Happy April. everyone. In the first video of April, I rant at you about disability things. What a treat. Well, I hope if you do have a disability that this video made you feel any sort of comfort. I have talked about my cancer diagnosis in my pediatrician in the past, but if you want an updated video on that, I'm fine with talking about it again. I don't really care. Yeah, I just haven't done one of these just sit and talk to you videos in a minute, and I thought I'd do it again, especially now that I have a mic. Aniki. Oh shit. Hold on. Oh, okay. There's a light. So there's this mic, like there's a light on it you can see, but there's something like in the phone, and that has a light on it. And I had one video where I didn't realize that the mic had died over and over again, so I had to like go in with a voiceover. And I've been trying to make sure I pay attention to see if that light goes out, and I thought it went out, but it's fine. Whatever. Your disability can take so much from you. Like, I can't run anymore. Dancing is something I used to do and love, and now it's much harder to do. A lot of things are a lot harder to do, like driving. Like, I like sit to take a shower now. Like, just things that have become more and more difficult that I used to do without even thinking. I just want to start a series of me really taking the time to get back what I can. I will never be the person I was before all of this, but I can still be a person that I'm proud to be and a person that I want to be. So I just kind of want to start a series documenting that. I think that is it for me here. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. If this is your first time seeing me, hello. I hope you enjoyed. On screen now are my social media handles if you'd like to see more day-to-day things that I get up to. And with that, I will see you next week for a brand new video.